Hi everyone, in this video we're going to be talking about the best ultra wide angle lenses you can get for a Canon full frame camera. Now when I talk about ultra wide angle lenses, that's when we're talking about, on a full frame camera, anything which is wider than 20mm. On a full frame camera, 20mm is pretty damn wide. I would call that super wide. But an ultra wide angle lens is pretty much a 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 millimeters. They are super wide. Ultra wide, that's why they're called ultra wide. Okay, get to the point. With Canon, there's not a huge number of options for you to really play around with here. The one which I use, the one which I'm filming this video just now on, is not cheap. It's a 16 to 35 millimeter f2.8. It's about £1,100. It is an f2.8 and it is 16mm, so it's pretty wide. Just now it's around about the 35mm is that, so it's kind of zoomed in on me, and it's only like arm distance away. Okay, so this is the 16 to 35 f2.8 on full frame camera. ISO 400, 50th of a second f2.8. In terms of bending in the image, you can see there's a little bit of bending just up there. That's at 16mm. If we zoom in to 35, let's get that a little bit more. Looking like there's a little bit of pin cushion this time. In terms of focus sound, very little sound. In terms of focusing, also quite quiet. We then also have a slightly cheaper version, well, a much cheaper version, which is the Canon 17 to 40mm f4. So it's a constant aperture, which is good. 17mm, pretty darn wide. Very cheap in comparison to the 16 to 35. It is an f4, so not quite as bright as an f2.8. Well, one stop less. And it's also a lighter and smaller lens as well. So it does have a lot of benefits. Okay, this is a 17 to 40 f4, constant aperture throughout. So f4 is also a little bit darker. Let's see in terms of bending. Up in the corners. This is at 17mm. And then let's zoom it up to 40. And focus, and focus. Focus sound. Very little. And zoom sound. And vignetting around the corners, let's have a look at that. The next ultra wide angle zoom lens is actually from Sigma. So Sigma has got a 12 to 24mm lens. I was like, can you really go to 12mm on a full frame? Well, you can, but it's pretty nasty. There's a lot of vignetting going on, and it's better in video mode when you're shooting kind of within the square of a photo, but it's not really great. I wouldn't really recommend ever shooting it at 12mm if you're doing video, because there's just such strong vignetting around the corners, unless that's what you're looking for. Otherwise I would say don't really bother. There's also the Sigma 10 to 20, but that is, don't. If you're on a full frame camera, don't. Sigma 12 to 24 on the full frame lens, and if we look at the little bit of a change of aperture as you zoom in, quite a strong vignetting in the corners at 12mm, but pretty straight, not too bad. And if we zoom in, pretty straight as well. And then zooming back out, sound of the focus. Zoom. Sound of the zoom. Very quiet. Okay, done. And then to be totally crazy, there's the Canon, the 8 to 15mm lens, which is a fisheye lens, which zooms, which is cool. Whenever you're at the widest angle of 8mm, you actually see the actual insides of the lens. That's how wide it is. You actually see inside the lens. And whenever it's zoomed in, that's when it fills the full frame camera. So it's pretty much a fisheye, a full mega wide angle full frame lens, which will work both on full framed and on your crop censored cameras. Okay, now we're shooting with the 8 to 15mm f4 fisheye lens, and that's it at 8mm. And if we zoom in, that's it at 15mm. And as you can see, lots of distortion going on there, which is quite cool. And in terms of focus sound at f4, oh, you can see my finger. It's got to be very close. Effectively everything is in hyperfocal distance. My personal choice is, as you know, I went with the most expensive one, the 16 to 35 f2.8. For me, I need the 2.8. I need that extra brightness. If I don't need that extra brightness, what I need is that extra sharpness that I get when I stop it down by one stop down to f4. Or is that I need less vignetting in the corners when I can stop it down by one stop again. The extra 1mm, probably you would never really notice that, but I want to have as wide a view as I can get. And also in terms of distortion, it's not bad. There is barrel distortion and so a little bit of pincushion distortion. However, the 2.8 is really what I went for. And so far it's pretty much done all my wide angle jobs really well. In fact, I've done a couple of videos where I've tested it, and if you look at any of my property stuff, you'll see that is the lens I use for absolutely everything. However, what I would recommend is that if you are wanting to go and get a ultra wide angle lens, get one in a shop, test out, see how well it works, and then decide. Don't just take this review as gospel, go and test it out yourself. Because you've really got to weigh up massive price, much cheaper, a little bit less wide, a little bit less bright. If you're shooting outside, if you're doing external photography all the time, you don't really need an f2.8. If you're shooting landscapes, you don't really need 16mm. If you're shooting nightclubs, yeah, 8 to 15 or whatever it is, that's cool. The fisheye effect, that's cool. But other than that, not much other use. So that's just my tips. Hope that helps. Cheers. Bye bye.